Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chassidus in the morning, 15 minutes. Kuntres Heichaltzu. Okay, so essentially yesterday we were talking about Havaya and Lakim. Now, in general, when we say Havaya, and this is what we were talking about yesterday, in general, when we say Havaya, talking about a level of godliness that is united, it's one, and it's above the definition and worlds. And like we said before, there's aspects of each level. And Elikim generally represents the creation, division, and these types of levels. But we said, Havai Elikim kol echad, but they're really one thing. So we answer, it's because on one hand, they have these separate identities. That the identity of Havai, of the godliness that is expressed by Havaya, it's that it's united, whereas the identity of Elikim is that it's divided. But really, in Havaya, there's also division. As we said, we showed there's different levels, and the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, and they show on different levels of Hamshacha, of drawing down and giving. And really, essentially, what we end up saying is Havaya and Elikim, they're just two sides of the same coin. And that's why we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that Hashem is, why do we say Hashem Echad and not Hashem is Yachid? Hashem is singular, meaning it's only God, because then you'd say there's the singular God, and then there's other things coming out of it. There's other things. So when we say Hashem Echad, that even in the world as we see it, that it's the world, what we see is through Shem Elikim, how we see a world very separated from God. That together with that, in that world, we still have Hashem. Hashem is totally there. And that's what he's saying. And that's what I mean, that even in the world that looks so separate, Havaya is still there. And God is there, and God is still one, even though we don't necessarily recognize it in a revealed way. Yeah, and that's what we were saying. It's a very, very powerful idea that the essence, that the essence of godliness is right down here. It's not like it's somewhere else. It's like we're in this world. It's like as the Rebbe says, Atzilus is not a physical place somewhere else. It's a level. It's a mindset. It's like a level. It's like a meaning a level here that it's where you interact with the world. So too the Havaya, it's where you interact with the world. The unity that you come out when you live in a world of unity. That's a whole different level. This is. And in contrast to Midyan, because Midyan was saying is divided. Midyan is the ultimate in division and destroying the world, and Havaya is the ultimate in building the world. Okay, page 169, chapter 21. Okay, in the previous chapter, the Rebbe Rashab focused on the oneness generated by the name Havaya. He explained that the name of God does not refer to unity that exists in contrast to multiplicity, but rather to a oneness that encompasses multiplicity. It's not that there's Havaya on one hand, and then there's Elikim, which is separation on the other hand. But really, the Havaya encompasses the Elikim, allowing for an existence of multiple entities that join together in absolute singularity. And this chapter begins a more detailed discussion of God's name Havaya. He starts by discussing that discussion by focusing on the first letters of the name Yud. And now we're going to discuss Havaya in more detail. Remember, we're really analyzing what does it mean true unity. And Havaya is the unity, and that's what Midyan was against. The clip of Midyan was against this unity. All the negative aspects, so this is all the positive, and seeing what does it mean true unity. So not to understand this idea better, we have to understand first, the Yud and the Hey of Shem Havaya. We have to understand what these are, what they represent. As we explained below, these two letters identify with the spheres of Chachma and Bina. And we'll see. The Yud is a tzimtzum, like it's very small. Yud, it's the smallest letter in the Aleph base. And then the Hey is very wide, which is Pashtus, which is like Chachma and Bina. And we're going to discuss this. Yeah, exactly. It's known in every place. When the mashpia wants to give to Makabel, and they're not in relative comparison to each other, Ha'atzmus mikol v'chol. So the essential light has to be totally removed. Ki lo yuchal ha'makabel l'kabel, k'mei she'ar v'hashepa v'yispashtus b'gdulas ha'achavas b'gdulas ha'mashpia. So what meaning like this? A teacher, let's say a teacher teaches kindergarten, and I want to teach them something, or any teacher really, but let's say we use an example of kindergarten. So you want to teach the kindergarten kids an idea. The idea is, in reality, is a much greater level. Let's say you teach them about Yom Tov. Now you teach a kindergarten about Hilchos Pesach. They're not going to know what's going on, and they're going to be confused, and it's just not going to. You can't teach them the laws of Pesach like that. What you have to do is you have to mitzamtzum everything. You have to remove everything. You have to make it you have to have this tzimtzum, and you have to sit down, and you have to figure out how you can teach them in a way they can understand, and then you can teach them. So that's what he's saying. You have to remove that light, and the way the teacher understands, that teacher could be a Rav, and they understand all the halachas. I was speaking to a Rav last week, and he said he's busier in the 9 days than he is Erev Pesach. I was like, whoa, like I didn't understand what's so busy. I guess people have a lot of questions about traveling and stuff. But the point is, there's so much information, but if he teaches, they try to give the kid all the information, it's not going to work. They're not going to get anything. First, you have to contract it all. The way the teacher understands it, he's not going to get it. The first teacher has to remove himself, has to take himself away from the way he sees things, the way he understands things. And he should leave. He's retaining and setting apart in a contracted form. Only a little bit. Meaning the teacher knows so much, and what does the teacher teach? Is the littlest amount. And this is in general. When we're teaching anyone, when we're speaking to someone, we have to understand where they're holding and what can they receive. It's based on the level of the makabel. What can the person receive? So hanitzach ashpa. What they can actually receive, what's going to come and be able to convey to them. That it should at least get something. Because it's not a chachma, it's not a smart idea. You don't gain anything by showing how much you know to the kid or to the person you're trying to give over. You're trying to give them something. And then we can give them something is recognizing where they're holding and what you can actually give and what they can receive. The point of the idea. And for this to happen, there's two types of contractions. There's two types of efforts that the teacher has to do. The first thing you have to do is remove everything the way you understand it. All that information. And only the yud is left, so to speak. That little point. So the teacher has to remove everything I understand and have only a little minute idea of what they wanted to give. I'm going to achas the yud. This is what's remaining from the concealment, from all that information that we have. We remove it all. It's like talking to a little kid about Pesach. What do you say? You have to lean, you have to drink 4 cups, and we have to sing Manashtana. Is that Pesach? There's so much more to Pesach. But that's what they can receive. They can get. That's that yud. That's a little idea. What is fitting for them to have. That's the first thing. And the second idea is shemash nisha min hashefa ugam ke mechinas tzimtzum dafka. And what's left from this little yud is also tzimtzum. And that level, it's very simple, very small, and it's not really expanded. This is the concealment. And it's called nothing. Ayin. The yod is nakuda, it's just a point. It's not even expanded, just like a dot. A yud is like representative of a dot, just like a dot. It doesn't have length or breadth or anything. It's just a dot. So to this idea, it's very, very small, very concise. It hasn't been brought out. Meaning we removed everything, so we have this one point. And that one point is really, in essence, sort of lacking so much. It's not even revealed. So to above by God. We can understand this idea. This is representative of the Yud. This is how the Yud Hashem Havayim. But remember, we're understanding there's different levels of godliness and different expressions of God and how God manifests Himself. And we're talking about the general term Havayim and the expression of God in that level. And in that specific level, we're talking about the Yud Hashem Havayim. It's because the infinite light of God is simple and it's vast and it's great, it has everything built to Yachal. It can't come and reveal itself. To be a source for whole creation in the world. It's the light, it's like looking straight at the sun. It's not gonna, you can't gain anything from that. You need to wear sunglasses, you need to contract, you need to learn how to, it's like using the sun for energy. You need to have solar panels. It's not going to work. The sun by itself, it doesn't give you energy. It's too much. So you need to have this contraction. The Ein Sof by itself is too much. The Yos Afil marker. It's not even a source to the chain like the center worlds. Not even a source for the worlds. Because from you is the source of life. The gamma marker Chayim Hurak. It's only with you. Even the source of life, which is meaning the source of everything, is only with you. It's not you, because it can't be with you. It's because the Ein Sof is so great, it's so powerful, it can't be a source of creation world. From something that's so infinite, can't create something so finite. That the world is not even comparison to, you can't even compare it to the essence of God. The Nikra, Stimu, the whole Stimu, it's called the hidden beyond all hiddenness. The leis machshava tfisa beklal, that on that level, the Ein Sof, infinite light of God, we can't even understand, we can't even fathom, we can't even appreciate. This is like the teacher's information, much the teacher knows. So gam loy b'chinas hamachshava hakuduma, not even the first thought. It's even meaning there's an initial thought of creation of the world, and that's a way high level, and how God had the idea to create the world. But Ein Sof is even above that. It's even above the source of creation, above the thought of creating the world. Meaning, just like we have a thought for an idea to have something, we're talking about a level, it's even above that thought to have that idea. For even, when we're talking about the example of the teacher, teacher has to contract everything and think how the teacher shouldn't. We're talking about this level even before he thinks about how to contract it and how to remove it. That's how the teacher understands for himself. Here it's not even a source to make a world. In order for a world to be created, in order to even Atzilus, which is the highest world, which is something that's all one with godliness, even for that to come about, it has to be through a tzimtzum. At all these levels I talked about before, there's the source, and not even the thought for the world has to be totally removed to make this yud, this point. Shahu inyan Heichaltzu, this is the concealment of light. First, and this is how the world works, this is how the creation works. The first thing that happened was the light was removed, so to speak, into Atzmos. Meaning, and there's like a map you have in Kabbalah. It's like a page, and it has like a box, and around in the box is a circle, and in the circle there's like a point, and from there there's a line. And essentially, the inside the circle, the idea is everything is godliness, Atzmos, God's essence. And what God did was, He, so to speak, removed Himself and made a place called a Makam Panoi, a void, empty place that is empty from, so to speak, from godliness. Now, of course, it's not really empty, but it's sort of it's so to speak empty from godliness, and that's sort of the Makam Panoi that sets itself up for a place in order that there can be a revelation of light, and ultimately through the Ishtashalus to create a world to the extent that our world, and think about what that means, that our world, that we say to ourselves, what do you mean? It's God really exists? Whereas the essence and what really is going on is only God. We don't really exist. It's God that really exists, but we're so, it's so became so coarse and brought down to such an extent that we don't even recognize godliness as the obvious reality. Yeah. And so he removed everything in order that afterwards one sort of minute little piece, this little yud, can come into it later, which could ultimately be the source of the worlds. We'll I guess which last word, and we'll stop here. He reveals deep things from the darkness. And we'll explain that. We'll explain it tomorrow. But the point is like this. It's a very powerful idea that we have to realize, like the reality of the world. It's like the story. I think this is what I wanted to say yesterday. The story there was a misnagid. There's a chassid went to misnagid town for Shabbos. Stuck on the way, whatever. He went to town and he was there. And when he finished Shabbos, he was leaving. And he said, "Thank you for the trip, whatever. Thank you for hosting. It was good." And I was walking. And I was leaving. So the guy's like, "No, how was it?" So he said, "It was great. It was a very inspirational Shabbos." So he was looking at him. He's like, chassid complimenting him. It's not good. Something doesn't make sense here. So he said, what do you mean? So he says, the whole Shabbos, I heard you talking about God. It was beautiful. So the Mishnah was very happy. Look how good we are. And the guy walked off. So the Mishnah said to himself, 1 second, something doesn't make sense here. I don't know. So he goes to the chassid and he goes, what do you mean by that? So he goes, listen, I love Chassidus. So I know God exists. So I'm always talking, do I really exist? You know you exist. So what are you talking about? Does God really exist? So the Mishnah understood what the Chassid meant. That's what we're learning. What we're seeing here, this is the reality. What we're learning here is the reality of the world. This is how the world is. This is the reality of creation. Well, and now you're going to look outside, you're going to see all these things. That's not the reality. It's there, but it's all created. And you have to think about it. This is what God did to create the world. This whole set of events that starts off with this Makam Pana. Hashem removes himself. The essence of God was only godliness. He removes himself. And then he leaves one little point to ultimately be. And that little point is the highest thing we can't even imagine. We can't even appreciate. To ultimately cause the chain of events, which will bring about all the worlds until we come to this world. Not just this world, but this physical world. And it's so physical, so low, nothing lower than it. And why did God do all this? Because he wants you to do a mitzvah. He wants you to have Ahavas Yisroel. He wants to connect with people and wants you to do the right thing. It's a very powerful idea. To be continued tomorrow.